Hello everyone, it's Alexandra. Today I would like to share with you a fun and easy project for creating this insert for a junk journal. I'm going to use some of the wax seals that I have received from Craspire some time ago. Thank you, Craspire, for sending these over to me. You can also use this coupon code that you see on your screens right now for your next order, and you can place your orders at the Craspire internet store. Let me show you this insert first, and then we will go ahead and create one together. As you can see, this insert has a string closure, and for one of the holders of that string, I used the wax seal, this one right here. I love this oval shape, and specifically I like the design with the wonderful berries right here. So when you unwind the string closure, you unfold the top and bottom flaps, and on this page I have a few embellishments that I added to the collaged paper, and this was a digital paper from Victoria Designs. Then this flap opens to the right, and there is another flap that opens to the left. On the inside we have two pockets which hold other little embellishments in them. And here I have a little faux tea card and a glassine envelope with a few little embellishments inside of it. In the main pocket of the insert, we have a journaling card, a tag, and a specimen slide with some pressed dried flowers. Then on this pocket right here, as you can see, we have a see-through window. So I'm going to show you how to create that one. And then on this side of the flap, I have another specimen card and another specimen slide with the pressed leaf on the inside, and here we have this corner pocket with another see-through round window. So that's the project. I hope you will have fun creating this insert together with me. To begin with, you will need a piece of paper, and I have printed this design on some ivory cardstock. This is the cardstock that I have been using by Astro Brights. The paper that I have here measures 6.5 inches on the short side and 10 5/8 on the long. I am going to score this piece on the short side at 1/2 inch, 5/8, and then at 5 7/8 and 6. And then on the long side, I'm going to score it at 1 3/4, 1 7/8, and at 8 7/8, and at 9 inches. I can put my scoreboard aside and work with this piece. So it will be kind of hard to see where the score lines are, so I want to flip this piece to the back and use my self-healing mat and a ruler and a craft knife. When you look at the corners of this paper piece, you will see that the score lines intersect like this. So you are going to cut along the score lines here and also here. Let me sketch that with a pencil. I think you can see it better now. So what you're going to do, you're going to cut along the score line here and you will be trimming the score line itself off as well. And you're also going to cut along the score line here at the top, trimming the score line off as well. And this is what we should get once we trim this section off. I have trimmed it on the opposite side here, and I'm going to do the same on this side of my paper piece and be back. Okay, so I will now make sure to fold all the score lines and burnish them with my bone folder. Like that. Next, I'm going to distress all the edges of this paper piece using my vintage photo distress ink. This is how our piece looks now. Next, I will need a few additional pieces of ivory cardstock that I used for printing my initial design, and these will be glued down to the flaps, to the 1/2 inch flaps on the right and the left hand side of our main element. These paper pieces measure 7 inches long by 4 inches wide, and I'm going to attach them to the front of each one of those flaps. I guess you could already have your design printed to these paper pieces. For embellishing the inside flaps of my future folder, I'm going to use some more of the digital collage paper, and this one was from Pink Monarch. I will link Anna's store in the description box down below so you can easily find her. And this piece also measures 4 by 7, so that once glued down to the flap, it will cover it completely. I will cut 2 more paper pieces of the same size for embellishing the fronts of these flaps. I will distress the edges of all of the paper pieces and get back to you. And I have glued these down. This is how my base of the folder looks like right now. I also want to mention that you remember the paper that I showed you, the ivory one? It was 65 pounds. For matting the flaps, I'm using the 28 pounds paper. I'm doing that because I don't want this insert to be very bulky, because it is an add-on to the journal. It's not a stand-alone piece, and I will be putting more things inside of it, so I didn't want it to get too bulky. Then for the central area here, I have prepared another piece of paper, and this one is 5 1/8 by 7 inches long. It is also a thin paper, and I have also prepared a piece that I will use for creating a pocket. This piece measures 5 1/8 by 3 inches. Okay, so I am going first to glue down the large paper piece to the central section of the folder here. And now I will be working on creating the pocket with a see-through window in it. For that, I have here a piece of craft cardstock, and in my case it measures about 3 inches long by 1 3/4 inch wide. I have already distressed the edges of this paper piece, and I have glued 1/8 inch double-sided tape to the back of the paper piece along the edges. Now I can take once again my self-healing mat and a craft knife and cut the opening using the edge of the double-sided tape backing as my guide. And I will be left with the frame, a very thin frame, which looks like this. I will then distress the inside of this frame just to get a finished look. I will start peeling the backing off the tape from one side for now. I will then just layer it on top of my paper piece and make sure that I glue it down nicely. Now I can just remove the backing from the remaining areas of this frame and then slowly glue the rest of it down to the paper, just like so. Now that we have this step done, I can once again go back to the craft knife and the self-healing mat and use the inside edges of the craft cardstock frame as my guide for cutting an opening in the paper. I'm not rushing, I'm just following the outline of the window. And this is what we have now. Then get a piece of glassine or vellum maybe, or tracing paper to glue down to the back of our pocket. And you can also use acetate for this purpose if that's something that you want. Once you have your pocket ready, you can go ahead and glue it down to the base of the folder, to the base of the folder. I'm applying glue only to 3 sides and then align it with the paper piece that I have underneath. Next, I want to add the corner pocket to one of the flaps, and I'm talking about this one right here. For that, I have prepared a piece of cardstock, and it measures 3.5 by 3.5. To create the opening here, I have used 2 punches. First of all, I used a 1-inch punch to punch out the round shape closer to the top of this paper piece right here. Then I took another piece of craft paper and punched that 1-inch circle again, and then I used the 1.25-inch punch to create the outline for my frame, like so. I distressed it with the Vintage Photo Distress ink to get this color. I glued it down to the opening, aligning all the edges together, and then I added a piece of glassine paper to the back, and that's what I got. Now I can just randomly cut off a corner of this paper piece using my paper trimmer, like so. You can choose at which angle exactly you want to cut it. That's completely up to you. Next, I think I will use the corner rounder just to round the corners of the flaps. And since I have one corner rounded here, I will also round this bottom corner on the pocket. Don't forget to distress again, because you snipped little pieces and probably the paper is white there again. Now we can go ahead and glue the pocket to our flap. For this side, I will be creating 2 pockets using a die from Level & Crafts as a base. This is how the die looks like. It has a cute stitching at the curved side right here, and it also creates the lines for scoring, but you can always reinforce those. I will make sure to burnish the flaps of this pocket down so that the pockets are flat. And this is the great size for our 4-inch flap. I have cut a piece of paper, and it's once again the 28 pound paper. The width of this paper is a bit smaller than the width of the pocket die cut piece that I have, and I make sure that I slide it all the way down to the bottom. Then I take a pencil and I just trace the curved outline of the top of that pocket, and I use my scissors for cutting the paper piece out along that sketched outline. Don't forget to distress the edges of this paper piece. And before I go ahead and distress the bottom of this paper element, I will cut about 1/8 of an inch off from that bottom section. Just like that. Now I want to see if it fits, and you can decide if you want to trim more. I think I can trim more. Okay, so we have 2 of our pockets ready, and now I can go ahead and glue the bottom pocket down first, making sure that I have a border around 3 sides of the pocket, just like so. And then I can choose where exactly I want to have the second pocket, and I think I will glue it down about 1 1/4 inch away from the bottom one. Okay, 2 pockets are attached. Now let's take care of these flaps and the closure for our folder. So I am going to see where exactly I want to have the bottom of my closure, and I think here is a nice spot. To create this circle, I used the 7/8 inch punch to punch out the pattern paper, and then a 1-inch circle punch to punch out the craft cardstock base for it. I'm going to use a tiny brad for attaching this circle to the flap of my folder. I will take a piece of paper, and this is once again the 28 pound paper. I am going to see what's the size of this piece. Okay, I'll just mark with my poking tool a place up to which I have to trim it. Okay, and see again if it fits. I think it does. And now I can go ahead and glue it down to the bottom flap of the folder like this. I am aligning this piece along the bottom score line that I can clearly see because it is distressed and it is dark in color. so I can see that nicely. Okay, we have the bottom flap ready. I'm going to once again round the corners of the flap. What I want us to do now is to create the wax seal for our folder. So let me put this aside. I am going to choose a color of my future wax seal, and I think I'm going to choose the brown. I had sort of a dark burgundy color on this folder, and here I think I will choose the brown, or maybe this color will be nice. Yeah, I think this one is nice actually. So you can either mix or choose a single color for your future wax seal. I am going to have a one color for mine, single color for mine. So I have a tea light in there, and this holder for the spoon. I think I am going to use actually 5 pieces of the wax, and although I did not get this one from Craspire, Craspire have a great selection of the wax beads as well on their site. Okay, so let me speed up the process of the wax melting and get back to you. You can always speed up the process by stirring the wax using either a toothpick, or I'm using my pokey tool, and I just make sure that I have a baby wipe handy for wiping off the wax from the poking tool. So I already showed you the stamp design that I'm going to use. I'm pouring the heated wax onto the tile that I have received from Craspire as well, and I make sure that I put the stamp in the center of the wax like so. I think we have a nice outline all around, and I will just let it cool down and get back. Okay, so let's check out what we have. This is how it looks. I love the result. You can always take your metallic marker and go over the raised areas of the stamp design and add even more accents and details. It is also very easy to peel the stamp from the tile. So here is our wax seal ready to be used on a project. It looks very, very cool. Really, I love it. For attaching it to the top flap of our folder, I need to first poke a hole in it, and I will be using my crocodile for this step. I think somewhere here is a good place in the center of the design itself. I am now going to make sure that I align both the bottom part of the string closure with the top one. I think this is okay, and then I will mark the place for the hole here. Take my wax seal and attach it to the flap with the help of another brad, just like so. Once again, I want to make sure that I flatten the tails of the bread nicely. And just pressing on top of the bread with my ruler. Okay, perfect. Now I have an additional paper piece that I will use for matting the back side of this top flap, and this time it is once again that same 65 pounds ivory cardstock that I used for creating the base of my folder. I decided to make this top flap look a little bit more interesting than the bottom one. I'm going to do the same here. So I have put my folder on the self-healing mat like so, and I'm going to mark a 1/4 inch from the left and the right edge at the bottom, 1/4 inch from the corners, and then I will use my craft knife to cut from that tick mark to the first from the bottom score line on the flap, just like so. Same on this side, from the tick mark that I created with my pencil to the first from the bottom score line right here. This is how it looks. And then I will just use my scissors to round the corners like so. Don't forget to apply more ink to these sections here. And I think our folder is almost ready to be embellished now. We only need to add the string itself. I have here a piece which is roughly, let's measure, 24 inches long. I am going to slide the string behind the circle on the bottom flap and tie a double knot. And then I will trim the excess of the string. And let's see that our closure works. I will now tie it around the top part of the closure. Yep, it holds nicely. This is our second folder. My string is a little bit shorter here. So yeah, let's embellish our folder together. I think I will speed up the process of embellishing and get back to you at the very end of the video just to show you the final result. Okay, so here is our finished project. Let's quickly flip through all of it together. So we have our string closure with the wax seal at the top. I have added a few cut out elements on the flaps as well as to the pockets, and I have also added some more of the same elements, just they might look a little bit different than the ones that I have in my previous folder that I showed you in the beginning of the video. I have the same number of elements in this one. I just love how it all looks together. Love it, really. Here we have another card and a faux slide, specimen slide, and these are from Tracy Fox. Thank you, Tracy. I will link Tracy's channel in the description box down below as well. And here in this pocket we have another faux tea card and a few more little bits and bobs. That will go back into the envelope. And yeah, I think that's all from me for today. As I mentioned previously, you can absolutely go ahead and add more embellishments to the back of each one of the folders. I just love the paper here. I might add some more floral cutouts to the back of this folder though, because it is a little bit more plain than this one. Anyway, yeah, that's the project that I wanted to share with you today. Don't forget about wax seals that are available at Craspire, and see you soon in the next video tutorials. Bye!